During the winter, I get a lot of questions about the best pajamas and how many layers we should put on our babies and children when they're sleeping. And a lot of parents also wonder about the ideal room temperature for their child in order to optimize their sleep. In today's shorty episode, this is exactly what I'm going to cover. And I went ahead and created a special checklist to go along with this episode. It's called Setting the Scene for Sleep Temperature and Pajama Picks for Your Kids. You can find a link to it in the show notes. Hi, I'm Allison Egidi, a pediatric sleep and wellness coach and a mom of two. I love to help parents find solutions. This is How Long Till Bedtime. I don't know about you, but in general, I personally hate to be cold. And I think it's really natural for parents to want to make sure their kids aren't too cold. So for many years, I struggled with worrying if my girls would be too cold at night, particularly when they were not talking. I knew that I slept better when I was cooler, and the research clearly supports that. But when my girls were babies and toddlers, I still found myself worrying that they might be too cold at night and that it could possibly negatively impact their sleep. That all changed one winter. I wish I could remember what year it was, but I don't. But they were fairly little, but out of their cribs. So they were probably 4 to 5 years old. And our power went out for a couple of days, and the temperature upstairs in our house dropped to 65, either on that first or second night. And my girls had an amazing night of sleep. I laid awake worrying that they were cold, and they actually woke up later than usual that following morning, even my early riser. And that was it for me. The proof was in the pudding. Cooler temperatures can actually really help with sleep quality and reduce fragmentation, otherwise known as night wakings. While body warming during the day and in the evening can actually help promote falling asleep and increase sleep quality, the body's core temperature really does need to drop as it prepares to sleep and while you sleep. This temperature drop is one of the main triggers for increase and continued production of melatonin, so it's important for general sleep maintenance. This is why I recommend cool rooms and not overdressing our babies or children at night. We do not want to be working against their bodies. If your child's body is too warm, it will affect how much high quality sleep they get. So it could be the number of hours that they get. It could also affect night wakings, meaning it could cause them or it could cause them to be more restless when it comes to their sleep. And it may make them wake up earlier in the morning than they otherwise would have if the room were cooler because their body warms up too early, which causes that morning wake up. Now, I'm not saying that you want your child to be uncomfortably cold, but if you've been keeping the temperature in their bedroom at 70 degrees or above, you might want to consider experimenting with a lower temp. The recommendations out there are wide ranging, and the ideal temp will vary a bit house to house and person to person. But I tend to recommend trying out 68 degrees for young kids, being sure that you have not overdressed them, and then seeing if you notice any difference with their sleep. You may even end up experimenting with slightly cooler temps, particularly once your child is old enough to talk and they're able to communicate with you if they were too cold. If your child's room has an overhead fan, you can also put that on, which can keep the air circulating in the room and keep it cooler in general. When it comes to pajamas, I like light, breathable materials. I don't, for example, recommend fleece pajamas for sleep. I know those are very popular in the winter, but they aren't very breathable and they could lead to the body being a little too warm. My favorite breathable pajamas are the bamboo fabric. There are now actually several companies who make these pajamas, so any of them can be great, but I still go back to my absolute favorite. In my mind, they are the original, although I don't know if that's actually true, but that's the Kiki Pants brand. And a side note, I also find that this bamboo material is great for little ones with sensitive skin or babies who are struggling with eczema. For infants, I generally recommend those zip up footy pajamas. And then once your child is ready to move away from the footies, they have great two-piece sets as well. I like pants and long sleeves until your child is old enough to communicate how they felt at night. I ended up having one that decided she's actually most comfortable in a nightgown, and the other is most comfortable in the long pants and the short sleeve shirt. But until they can communicate that, I generally say keep their arms covered and their legs covered because a lot of times they're kicking their blankets off. So I will link to some examples from Kiki Pants in the show notes if you want to check those out. And while your child is in their crib, in addition to breathable pajamas, I recommend a sleep sack. My favorite is the 0.5 or 1 Tog Kite Baby sleep sack. Again, I'll link to those as well, but I like that weight because it's not too heavy. And once your child has transitioned to a bed, some kids are going to be most comfortable with a light sheet and a simple quilt or blanket. And then some, particularly as they get older, may decide that they're more comfortable with a more traditional comforter. But I don't want you to panic if your little one prefers to sleep without blankets. They may actually be more comfortable and sleep better without them. So I hear this a lot about the 3 and 4-year-olds that some don't like to be tucked in or wear the blankets. If that is your child and they aren't wanting a blanket, you can always just leave an extra blanket at the end of their bed or on the floor next to their bed and let them know that if they wake up and they're feeling chilly or cold, they can just pull that blanket up over them. But don't feel like you have to force the blankets. So, to wrap up, you don't want to overdress your little ones for sleep, and cool rooms can help promote better sleep. Cool is better than too warm. So I really recommend that if you're not sure, do a little experimenting with the temperature in your house and see what temperature helps everyone in your house maximize their sleep. I would love to hear if you try a cooler temp, if it helps, and what temp you like in your house for sleep. Shoot me a DM on Instagram. My handle is @Sleep and Wellness Coach. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you back here next week. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to How Long Till Bedtime. To learn how we can work together to improve your child's sleep, please visit sleepandwellnesscoach.com.